Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Make Saints podcast. I'm Drew Downs. And this one is another All Saints Day. Now, this podcast I've been doing now for a few years called Make Saints is about trying to figure out how things are. If you haven't figured out the sort of linguistic play there, I want us to help make sense of our world and make saints out of the things that are normal. And I think that is part of what makes All Saints Day so special to people, is that there's a kind of naturalness to try and help lift up the stuff around us. But there's also another half of this, which is a need to demystify the saintly and help one another recognize how attainable sainthood is. And so there's no better day to do that than All Saints Day, because the purpose of All Saints Day is not to think about an individual saint and their specialness, right? Because this is what happens. We take a saint and we think they are extraordinary, living in an extraordinary time, doing an extraordinary thing, like we're lifting them high up and putting them on a pedestal that we ourselves cannot reach. But when we look at them all, when we pan out from the individual and we see them all, we can see just how normal and common it is. In fact, sainthood, what separates people, right? What separates a regular person from a saint is often that they were in a place at a time and they made a choice, and that choice produced something important. That's it. That's it. And so this is why this sort of saintly is possible. One of the challenges that we have is that, again, this is why the pedestal is such a problem. Is I have this memory from years ago in which someone everyone loved, just everyone in the community loved this person, and then they died, and what was said after they died was, "He taught me everything I know." And it was don't you want to hear that? Like, wouldn't you want to hear that about a loved one? Like, man, my father or my husband or my wife or my grandmother, whatever, they taught me everything I know. Oh, what a great thing to hear. And but my experience was a lot of the people saying that weren't people who acted like that person. And so I would be like, they taught you a lot, but what? Where is it? Right? There's something about this idealizing, this attachment, this love for a person, and it feels to me unrealized when we ourselves don't think we could do it. We don't feel like we are capable of doing that too. And I think that is ultimately the test of our learning about All Saints Day, right? It's the test of our ability to recognize the beauty and the importance of recognizing the saints. There's also this other piece of all of this is to recognize we're all living in a culture, and our culture doesn't actually help us very much in a lot of this, right? It's a culture that wants us to be normal, that rejects the saintly. It sort of idealizes the saintly, but then says we can't do it. It's too perfect. It's too idealistic. I mean, think about all of that language, right? Think about how the way we talk about it with one another and what that does to it. So I'd like to invite us today to remember all of the saints, to remember all of their different characters, right? And I don't expect you to think of all of them, right? None of us is thinking about every saint, but think about the saints and think about all the different stories they tell, stories of sacrifice and of giftedness, of people who did remarkable things for many, many years, and people whose very place among the saints was that they died, that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. We think about the apostles, and we think about those who sacrificed years of their lives. We think of inventors and artists who provided great joy and inspiration to millions or to a few. There's the opportunity to see all the wealth and difference and diversity and extravagance and austerity, these sorts of great different images. We get the opportunity to think about the wonder and beauty that can come from all of that, and to recognize that what we have to offer is quite comparable to any of them. That right now, any one of us could be the saint in someone else's story. And just how powerful that image can be from raising our own expectations of ourselves, of what we can achieve. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.